Hello, everybody. Welcome to Watches with Dennis. I've fired this up a little bit early so I can make sure I get all my sound checks and everything running. But I think so far things are looking pretty good. At least I hope so. Let's see here. I just have to make sure I have a window open in the base YouTube so that I can make edits like polls and stuff, though I'm not particularly planning on any polls today. But you never know. All right, that looks like it's going well. And I see Kevin's here. Hey, Kevin. Welcome from sunny Florida. Well, sun might be going down right about now. Guess it depends if you're on the west side in Central Time or because I think part of the Panhandle's in Central. I forget. I haven't been to Florida in a very long time. A long time. And Paul, welcome, Paul. New Jersey. I've not been there either. Well, let me. I've never been to New Jersey. I have been to Florida, but I haven't been to Lakeland, Florida. I have been to Orlando maybe twice. And and I see Scott became a YouTube member. That's very, very kind. Thank you, Scott. That's something. If you want the emojis and stuff, I set it whatever the cheap. I think it's 99 cents a month. It's the cheapest thing I could ever do. And Schumann from Overland Park. Well, I live in Olathe, Kansas, so very, very close. For those not familiar with Kansas, Overland Park and Olathe are both suburbs of Kansas City. And so today, my plan, my grand scheme, which was so brilliant, was to go ahead and talk about Geneva Watch Days 2022. Hello, Obese Tuna. I have my headphones on because I think someone might be joining in later. Tony, who was on our our this or that we did a few weeks ago, thought he might be able to join, but he actually has college classwork he does up until, I think, up until 8. So he said he might show up, he might not, depends how he feels. So, and if anyone, I guess, wants in, I can always share the link. If you have a headset and a webcam, we could always do that because you don't need to just hear me prattle on, but I will do my best. And so, for those of you that are not familiar with the Geneva Watch Days, it's kind of like a teeny Watches and Wonders, but decentralized. I see Doug has noted carryover from Pinball World. Yes, yes. It's like everyone I know is from pinball, and that's not too surprising. I got into watch collecting in the pandemic, and pinball I have been, oh gosh, of over 10 years now. I got my first game in 2012, and then I started to play competitively probably 2015 or so. That's around the time I think I started doing the podcasting. Um, but so Geneva Watch Days. So I wasn't familiar with Geneva Watch Days. I guess they've done it for a while now, though perhaps they had a couple of years off in the pandemic. I'm not quite sure. But just to give an example here, you can see on the screen share I'm doing, they actually have showrooms all around Geneva. And so it's like each of the brands does their own thing and they do it from their own facilities. So, I'm sure in person it's interesting. I don't know, like, I have no sense of scale on this. Like, is this all within walking distance? I'm going to say yes, it's probably within walking distance. But I had hoped that we would be able to find a site like Hodinkee or Fratello or something and just have like a comprehensive summary of Geneva Watch Days. And I couldn't find it. The closest was Hodinkee, and they have a section for Geneva Watch Days, but it's not comprehensive. So you see, they describe it as detailed coverage of all the top releases, which I almost would describe as detailed coverage of all the expensive releases, except that's not quite true. They did cover Oris, they did cover Doxa. It wasn't all the really, really, really high-end stuff, but a little bit disappointing. And see, Doug has noted, 1997. Okay, that was my year I graduated high school. Watches are lighter. Exactly why I started doing them in the pandemic was I didn't have to go anywhere to pick them up. Like, they would come to my house. And you can ship, for those that don't know, you can ship pinball machines, but it's a whole thing. Like, obviously, a lot of watches, if they're high dollar, you need to be there to sign for them. But with pinball machines, it's like they come on pallets. You need to inspect them for damage. I've had a few delivered here. Most of my games I've picked up myself, though. So the way I'm going to do this in order to keep it simple is if you guys have watches that you want to talk about that have been announced either at Geneva Watch Days or just sort of came up during the time frame. There may have been some that were announced during the run of Geneva, which ended today. I believe it was sort of like the August 29th through September 1st. But I do have a bunch. You probably saw some of my tabs. I do have a bunch actually up here that I've pulled both from Hodinkee a uh, and a blog to watch, which is one of the sites I kind of like. And Schumann asks or notes he hasn't heard of Geneva Watch Days. Are any new models announced? Yes, yes. The way I saw someone describe it is Geneva Watch Days. It's not like Watches and Wonders that we had back in the winter, where you get like the really epic, cool releases, but a lot of brands do have new models or new variants of existing models that they do announce during it, and that's what we'll focus on because uh, I don't know anything else. Like I don't know what else they would reveal. I don't know how special some of these things are, but we'll start with this. We'll start with the super expensive one. Of course, it's Hodinkee, right? It seems like that's all they pimp anymore. But so Breguet, very famous brand. I associate them with dress watches. So you see, in this instance, it's a new version of the Classique 7337. So okay, so it's not a whole new model, but it's a different flavor of the model. So this is a perpetual calendar watch, and you can kind of see it's got some interesting asymmetrical layouts here. You got the small seconds kind of at the 430 position, but actually on the inner section of the dial, not towards the outer edge where we often see small seconds are usually sub-dialed out much closer to the chapter ring. Roman numerals all around the dial. I noticed that they did not do. Nope, I was thinking of something else. I was thinking, did they not do the Watchmakers 4? They did. Day of the week is here. Let me ensure my mouse shows up on the screen. It does. Day of the week shows up at the kind of the 9 o'clock position. 3 o'clock-ish position has the days. And then this indicator, I'm not quite, it goes to 29.5. Obviously there's a lunar fixture. I'm not all that into perpetual calendars myself. I do think Breguet makes a very nice looking dress watch. So anyway, it's been around a while. The 7337 has. This new version is different, obviously. And so that's an example of a reveal that they did at Geneva Watch Days. Now, I don't recall if this was limited. I think it might have been. Let's scroll down and find out. We don't know if it's we don't know, or Hodinkee doesn't know. But at $43,000, for Breguet, that wouldn't necessarily be limited. I could see them doing a $43,000 watch unlimited. But anyway, it's just it's an example of something. I think it's a little too high end for me to elaborate on much. I did try and read through all of these before we did this, but there was lower decks to watch. I couldn't just focus on that. So let's go ahead and hop into a watch that is, I think, a lot more approachable and a lot more. It's another update, but this one I think is getting a lot more play. So let's go over to a blog to watch. The Hodinkee did cover this as well. This is the Oris Diver 65, 12H, 12 hour. That has to do with the bezel. Caliber 400. So kind of like what Schumann had asked about, this is yet another existing watch. The Diver 65 has been around a while with Oris, but this is a new iteration on it. And I see back on the Breguet, I moved on too fast. Obese Tuna had noted the dial looks too convoluted for a Breguet. I think they've done some stuff like that before. It's not normally what I associate with them. I agree. Usually I think of them as very, very clean, sort of traditional dress watches. I assume because it's a perpetual calendar, they had to figure out where to put all that stuff. So they got a little creative, a little asymmetrical with the small seconds, and everything else seemed relatively balanced. But I was a little surprised it was not quite, kind of felt German, that, putting things off to the side. I always associate asymmetry with the Germans. But so here's a very symmetrical style watch, however. All right, so I actually put out a video on this, so I'm not gonna dive. forgive the pun. I'm not gonna dive too deep on it unless you guys want to. I mean, it could be a good one to talk about. This one's very approachable financially compared to many of these watches that were covered on Geneva Watch Days, and so I think this one's getting a lot of discussion for good reason. So it's a 40 millimeter watch. This has a couple of modifications from the Diver 65 I'm familiar with. One is the bezel. Let's see if I can zoom in a bit. Probably not on a blog to watch. They've got to zoom in for us. Great. All right. So you notice that they don't use the typical diving bezel, which are times to 60. They've done a 12-hour indicator bezel, I assume, so you can track a second time zone to a degree, obviously not to the convenience of a 24-hour bezel, but if you don't have a GMT hand, what's the point of having a 24-hour bezel? I don't think it would be very functional. So I see where they've gone with this. I don't personally like that choice. I would rather just seen a diver timing bezel myself, but I get kind of what they're going for. I really like the clean date window. You notice they've actually rounded it. I think that's pretty cool. It's not just like it doesn't look like a cheap cutout to me. And of course they color matched, which I think is great. I think in the past, Oris has done some kind of photina to some of these 65s on the hands and indices. But here you see they're using the really stark white Super Luminova, which again, I think is really good. I get this as the Diver 65 is a throwback. It's a vintage style watch, but I like that it kind of looks new too. So it's got that. And then, of course, the big thing is putting in the caliber 400. So I see there are a few comments, so I do want to hit on them. So Doug has said that Oris, clean, simple, to the point. And yes, some people might find it sterile. Boring would be the more pejorative term that I've read some people have referenced on this watch. But again, if you want a classic dive style watch, don't you? Clean is what you want, right? I mean, because it's supposed to be easy to read. I like that this doesn't have any Arabic numerals on the dial. It's just the indices, and they're clearly very well loomed. That's what I think is nice about this sort of style. See, Paul has noted Oris is making some headway of late. Yes, Oris, it's really interesting. They have some very, very interesting, unique looking watches. They also have some very, I think, solid staples, kind of like this, what you might think of as classics. And then obviously their decisions lately have been really to focus a lot on in-house movements, which is what I think the big thing is about this watch, because there are other Divers 65 which kind of look like this, a little bit different lume color, actually having the dive timing bezel. Paul also noted what I was going to get to on the movement, which was great movements and really good value for the prices. So the movement's the interesting thing. So you can kind of see here on the dial where it says 5 days. That's the power reserve on the caliber 400. And that's pretty significant. And yeah, you could kind of see a photo of it, but in terms of that movement, they've been putting the caliber 400 in more and more watches. This is the first time it's shown up in a regular production Diver 65. I don't know if I emphasized that very well. I put a note in my description on my pre-recorded video about this watch a couple days ago, but they have put the caliber 400 in the Diver 65 before. I think there was a limited Hodinkee collaboration where they did it. And then I believe there was one other, but it was also limited. So this is an unlimited watch. It's $3,500. Yes, that is significantly higher than Oris has traditionally charged for watches, but it's, I think, in line with what they've been charging with their in-house movements. And one of the other things about that movement, and this watch in particular, and some of their others with a caliber 400, is what Paul has actually noted here with he thinks that they offer a 10-year warranty. Yes, they do. Not only do they offer a 10-year warranty on this watch has a 10-year service interval. And I was trying to think, and the only other company I know of that does a 10-year service interval is Rolex. I know when we were doing our tot, I had David was on with me. You might, if you've caught that video or you go back and catch it, he thought Omega did. I went and looked later, and no, Omega's service interval I think is like 7 to 8 years, or at least on the watch we were talking about. So if they've got 10-year watches, it's not all of them. So, but again, I think, really, really interesting, really, really cool. And this is something that I think is very, very compelling. If you want, and in fact, we can hop over to the Oris website. If you don't want to pay the $3,500 and you're willing to go with like the Etta or Solita, I think it's Solitas that Oris uses. Oris is a completely independent brand. They're not under any of the conglomerates. So like they're not with Swatch Group. They're not with LVMH. So I think I pulled up the Diver 65 in some of my research after I did my video. to see the non-caliber 400s. So like these are bronze ones. You can see they're $2,600. Those don't have the in-house movement. And they've got some others, Diver 65. So here's like the traditional timing bezel, but they went with like blue markers, a more modern look. But you see, it's over $1,000 cheaper because it doesn't have the new high-end movement. And Obese Tuna has noted that a 10-year warranty is pretty good. Yeah, I don't know of any brands that do more than 10. So I think it's interesting because Oris, I feel very much has been making some waves. And they actually, this was not the only reveal that they had for Geneva Watch Days. They had another one. I don't think it's as interesting. We'll touch on it in a little bit. I wanted to do a little bit of an Oris break after covering this watch, but I think this is the one that's more exciting to people because it's a very traditional looking dive watch. It like if you're thinking I want a black, kind of like the people that go in, maybe saying, you know what, I really like the Relic Submariner, but I don't want to pay that much, or I have I don't like Rolex, or it's too hard to get, but you like that look. And it's not just that look, obviously. You could think like Blanc Pawn 50 Fathoms and stuff, and be like, I want that black look, black dive watch look, but I don't want a homage. I want something else. So Oris is kind of given that here. And that power reserve, especially if you're just looking for like one really nice watch. I mean, I've been hopefully not overly whiny, but I know in a number of my reviews of watches I've owned, I've often been fairly negative on any watch that doesn't have at least a 48-hour power reserve, because if you're someone that likes to wear the watch during the week and take it off on the weekend, it's, you have to factor in if you have to wind it. And some people just don't want to deal with that and would rather be able to put a watch on and it just still be running and trust on the automatic movement to do the winding. So it's things like that I think really stand out. So let's go ahead now and move from Oris. We'll go back to Oris in a moment, but I want to bounce to another one. So we'll go back to Hodinkee. Yes, you see the gold, so this is going to be expensive. But Bulgari, so another famed watch brand, they also came out with some new Octofonissimos. So they weren't all, the subtitle says chronograph, but they weren't all chronographs. So we can zoom in a little bit. You can see they do have a chrono. Here are the pushers. I've never had a watch like this with these rectangular pushers, but some of the brands seem fond of those. Some of the dress watch brands in particular. Like I think Cartier does some of that. So they have a new chronograph, but they also have a non-chronograph, which again offsets small seconds. It's like German designs are everywhere, guys. No, I know. Like even Vacheron has hands like that, small seconds off to the side and stuff. But so they put this new out, and the thing that I think with Bulgari, if I'm remembering my watches correctly, and again, when we get to watches that are out of my price range, I don't research them as well. So, but I'm trying to be as comprehensive as I can be. Thinness is something that I think they've been relatively well known for. Some companies like what's the other one? Piaget is, I think, pretty well known for the really thin watches. Well, that's something that I've sort of associated with this sort of thing. So here's an interesting, they note the chronograph GMT automatic is 3.3 millimeters thick. So, I mean, that is absolutely tiny. And I see Tony is here. Hey, Tony.
Hello. I am done with my class.
Congratulations. Did you pass?
I mean, I guess.
I believe in you.
I answered questions and I earned points. So that means I at least have a partial good start on it.
That's right. And for those that don't know, this is Tony. He is also a pinball person. He does the Eclectic Gamers podcast with me. He was on our tot a few weeks ago. I've drug him in. He has watches too. He has a collection.
I do. I have. I'm not wearing one right now.
I'm wearing the coveted Spiro Agnew,
greatest watch ever.
1969 vintage watch. Restored by master craftsmen.
That's the way to do it.
In Shawnee, Kansas. When I finally found a watchmaker who would work on a pin lever escapement. Restored. Handcrafted
artisan repair work.
Yes, that's all right. And before bouncing back to this, you have a new motorcycle.
I do have a new motorcycle.
I assume that's what that photo was one that you actually bought.
I did.
I don't have motorcycles with Dennis because I don't know anything about them. But.
Well, that's I can understand that. No, that was my a big chunk of my pinball fund got wiped out purchasing and by a big chunk I mean like all of it purchasing a 1983 Goldwing in excellent running condition. Just needs little bits of
it looked
TLC
good,
here
like
and
the
there.
seats and stuff.
The seats are perfect. Good. There's no damage, no rips, no tears, no repairs. The seat is original and perfect and beautiful, and that's just almost unheard of.
And well, I don't know a lot about motorcycles. I know you are. I think it's fair to say a Goldwing fanboy.
That is minor compared to what the reality probably is. Fanboy's not strong enough of a word. Okay. I'm probably I like Goldwings more than you like Rolexes. I like Goldwings more than you like pinball machines.
So mean. So mean. Maybe true, but so mean. Speaking of Rolex, Paul has commented, forget Rolex, impossible to get from the authorized dealers. IWC, Bulgari, Cartier, Oris, Breitling, Omega. You can walk in and purchase your choice, basically on the spot. So much more satisfying.
You know, I can see that. And the ability to actually walk into a place and point at something and say, I want that. And then go, okay, give me $40,000 and then hand it to you. Has to be an amazing feeling.
Yes, I have to say I did go to the Omega authorized dealer a couple of weeks ago because I haven't talked about this on stream, and I will because we're talking about Geneva Watch Days, Tony. I don't know, you probably haven't followed it because it's a really weird decentralized event,
right? But, yeah, it's not. I have not followed it,
and that's okay. That's okay. We can talk about whatever we want, but one of the things I wanted to note was, because I know I haven't brought it up before, is so I didn't have to. I went to the Omega AD after I bought my 300M from Joma Shop because I could not size it. I could not take the links out of the bracelet. I have never failed to size my own bracelet, ever. I looked online and found out they use Loctite. Like, and I think Rolex does as well, but like, Omega's got like top grade Loctite or something. Part of it was also I didn't have a good screwdriver that was the proper size. Like I have a cheap set of hollow tip ones that fit, but my jeweler screwdrivers were all too small. I'm not sure what the size is of this. It was like 1.8 or 2 millimeter screws, and my best jeweler screwdriver was a 1.6, so it would slip. So I was like, I'll just take it in and get it sized. So when I was there, though, at the AD, they were the AD for Omega, Breitling, couple other brands, and so they let me try on some of the watches and showed me a lot of the different models. Like I didn't have, so I finally got to see Planet Oceans in person and got to see the Navitimers and all of that. And so it was just, to me, it was just super cool. So.
Did you do the Instagram thing where you do the selfies?
No,
you don't actually own?
No, I can't stand it. I hate posing like that. I'm a swore. I'm trying not to swear. That crap pisses me off. I'm just like, come on. No, I don't own any of that stuff. So, let's see. We've got a few comments to catch up on. Doug has noted, my buddy Mike has a Goldwing with a sidecar. Are you going to get a sidecar, Tony?
I'm not going to get a sidecar. I could see it. I can see reasons for it. But no, right now I'm going to do as little as possible. This thing is so pretty and looks so good. I'm going to polish it with a diaper and make sure everything's set up right and enjoy it.
And DeRosa said Tudor is the new Rolex. And that's what Rolex wants you to think, DeRosa. To be honestly, fair,
I'd rather have a Tudor.
Tudor has more interesting releases, and we're going to talk about one later today. And actually, I just today went on Chrono 24 finally and listed my Tudor 1926. I want to sell a few watches off that I'm not wearing as much, and I like the Tudor 26. The only thing is, like, I've got a Grand Seiko that kind of does the same thing for me, so I'm just not wearing it much. So I thought I'd try and sell it there and see if it's a big pain to shipping everything, and if it, because they do like a escrow and all that. So eBay, I didn't want people to cancel the PayPals and stuff. So I thought I'd try it versus sending it to a shop for credit, because I'll get more money out of it selling it. So is the thought.
Right.
But and SoCal Watch Review says, keep up the great work, Dennis. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't know what great work I've done, but I'll take any credit I can get. And Paul has said, sick of sucking up to Rolex ADs. Get nothing. One watch every 3 years. I've never bought a Rolex from an AD. My first Rolex, which I bought about 15 years ago, came from a local jeweler that was used. And then my second one I bought was from David SW, the online gray market dealer, which he also had a used watch. Both of those were under retail because they were used. Now, with them being more outside of the AD, then like I won't pay more for something used. I just don't get it. So I don't love them enough for that. So, and Dorosa's noted they just announced the Pelagos 39. The just announced Pelagos 39mm is nice, especially on the rubber stamp. That DeRosa has spoiled it, Tony. That's the tutor we're going to talk about.
Is that the tutor?
It is. Spoiler alert, guys. It's all everyone. It's ruined. It's ruined.
Strap?
It's ruined. So, Tony, we've already actually talked a little bit, only about a couple of watches. We talked about a ridiculously expensive Breguet, which was like 40. This is a perpetual calendar. It's like $47,000. The comments were they didn't like the way it looked.
I mean, I think that's a valid comment. I think it looks really weird, and I think on our tot I mentioned it. I don't like day type stuff. I don't really like perpetual calendars. I rarely am in a position where I need to know the date or what day of the week it is by looking at my watch. And I think in a lot of cases, they just uglify the watch. They take away from it.
Yeah. I like Breguet's hands though. And I like this. It's hard to see, like this guilloche pattern. I like that.
I mean, the pattern's nice, but I don't like the offset. I don't like the way they have everything. It gives it a really weird feel. It's like they failed the feng shui for this watch, and it just makes it feel awkward.
Does not bring you joy when you hold it close.
And
DeRosa apologizes for the spoilers. So
that's okay.
That's all right.
Spoilers are fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't tell them about what happens to Dumbledore, though. I don't think their hearts could. I don't think their hearts could take it. Paul had noted, love David SW. Great company to do business with. Honest, reliable, fast, and efficient. I've used David SW twice. I bought my Rolex 34mm Oyster Perpetual, as I noted. And I also bought my Jaeger LeCoultre Reverso from them. Both used. And I like those watches both a lot. Actually, I thought I would have gotten rid of the Rolex by now, but then the prices just went up, and I keep thinking I'll use it as trade bait for like a Zenith or something, but I haven't pulled the trigger yet. My first, Doug has noted, his first Rolex was a 1971 GMT Master, which I love the GMT Master and the GMT Master too. Very attractive pilot's watches with the bi-directional rotating bezels. He got his in 86. Yeah, my first was a Rolex Explorer 2 16570. I think my build year was around 2008. 2006 to 8. It doesn't have the newer movement, but it had all the other final changes like no drilled lugs and the solid end link bracelet and all that. And Obese Tuna says the Pontiff recommends David SW. And the Pontiff would be Archie Luxury, a channel I have seen before. Archie's a little too high energy for me, I guess would be how I'll describe it. Not my cup of tea. And then the other watch we talked about, Tony, was one I put a video out about, which I don't know if you had seen yet because you've been very busy. But
I've been in conferences all week. It's insane.
Which is this new Oris dive watch. This is the Divers 65, which is kind of their vintage look. That line of watches has been around for a long time with Oris. The difference is they put in their 5-day in-house movement to power it. Plus the lume is like the bright white, and they went with a 12-hour second time zone bezel, but not a 24-hour GMT watch. Instead of the usual 60-minute dive watch style bezel.
I like it. I think it's minimalist, and I think it screams for a pop of color. But overall, I like it.
And they have a ton of older Diver 65 should you want Popo color. They've got the bronze ones here. They've got some with just like here's like blue, but otherwise it looks pretty much the same. Timing bezel. They're about, the new one's like $3,500 because of that in-house movement. If you go with like their third-party movements, you see they're like 2,200 US. So
yeah.
And you can often find Orises with the third-party movements on places like Joma Shop at 20 to 30% discount.
I've gotten some good stuff off Joma Shop.
Mm-hmm. I bought some Christmas gifts through them once.
So did I. That's where I got my hack.
Oh, yes. I've checked them out for even Orient watches. I haven't pulled the trigger, but they got them. And so this is the watch we were now talking about, but let me, I see. Oh gosh. I look away from the chat and then all of a sudden it's exploding. So Duressa says, so this is referencing Archie. High energy is understatement of the week. That is true. I'm being sedated. I am the Valium pill of the watch discussion world, but I'm not an influencer. This is just a little tiny watch channel. Paul says too much drama with the Pontiff. That may be part of the reason why I quit watching when I saw the live streams. I really saw him when, and Tony's familiar with this, the whole Timepiece Gentleman blackout thing was going on before they went completely off the rails. And so there were all these, like everyone in the watch world made hay out of that. Like there were live streams every day. There were videos every day analyzing it. I even kind of felt a little dirty doing a video about my analysis of the blackout. Only a little, Tony, because that to date is my most popular video. It's like over 40,000 views, where it's just me sitting there as a nonprofit executive director explaining how this strategy for the charity side did not make any sense. And I stand by that. Doug has asked, this is back on the Oris, what does 5 days mean? Reserve power? Yes, that is what it means. It's got a 5-day power reserve.
Lovely. That's awesome.
Yep. It's called the Caliber 400 is the name of the movement. Obese feels Archie is off his meds. Paul agrees that he needs meds. And Von Krull thinks that back in the TPG days, the blackout days, as it was called, that he was in his glory. He had, everything was analyzed. There's a video for everything. And Duressa said that TPG stuff tilted the YouTube watch world. I don't know if I remember right, that was because I had only started the channel a few months before. And I think we didn't have any other news. So I think that's what it was. I think that just kind of drove it. And Funkro noted, 120 hours is the power reserve on that Caliber 400. Very, very impressive watch. But all right, guys, we got to talk about unaffordable things now, right? We got to talk about the expensive stuff. So this is the Bulgari Octa Finissimo. Yes, the Octa Finissimo has been out for a while. This is a new version. They actually got multiple versions. Yes, they are as expensive as they look. So I think they revealed like 3 of them. But the thing I was pointing out right when you joined was that the GMT automatic one is 3.3 millimeters thick. It's hard to conceptualize. I'm trying to think what my thinnest watch is. My Tudor 1926 is like around 9.5 millimeters, and it feels really thin.
I cannot in my mind conceptualize that. I don't have a ruler. I don't have a tape measure to even try and figure that out.
I might have I'm wearing my Boulevard shirt I won for pinball. And by one, I mean they gave us all space shirts. All right, I got mine.
Nice. Okay, so I have a leather.
Well, I guess if I hold it up to the camera, it makes it look huge. It makes it look huge. 3 millimeters is like it's a steak. It's huge.
I've got my Leatherman that's got a little metric thing on it, and 3 millimeters is just. I don't even see how they can make it work. So that's impressive.
It's baby's first. It's not actually baby's first anything. It's very impressive. Actually, I see Paul has a comment here about what about IWC not allowing green dial watches to be sold at authorized dealers anymore and only at boutiques? What's up with that? That is actually the first I've heard of it. So I had no idea that was the case. Interesting.
Why would they? That's weird.
Sometimes it seems, and this is total speculation, obviously, because I had not even known IWC was doing this. It seems like sometimes there are strategies that some of the companies do to try and ensure that the boutiques stay in business, and they just shoot certain things through them and say it's only going to be like that. Tudor did that with the Black Bay 58 bronze. Like, you could get the Black Bay bronze anywhere, but the 58 version, they only had them at the boutiques. And it's almost like exclusives with video game consoles is what it feels like. Except Microsoft hasn't gone in and bought up all the watch companies yet. And DeRosa says boutique exclusives is the next thing. And Paul says it's true, and ADs are very upset. Yeah, I can
understand why.
Oh, sure. I mean, in fact, we could tie this analogy to anything, like even pinball, for example. The Spooky Pinball Company just today released a new rerun of Total Nuclear Annihilation. ADs aren't allowed. Their distro network's not allowed to sell it. They're only selling direct.
Ooh.
So it's like, okay, well, I'm sure that made the distros real happy.
That
Abis
is.
Says, I would be worried about warping such thin mechanical watch.
That's
I might.
Concern.
You know, I don't know. I never thought about it. I guess because the price on these wasn't as bad as I actually thought when I looked at them. So they have multiple ones. So the yellow gold automatic was $45,500. The rose gold was $44,800. But the chronograph was only $35,800.
All right, Dennis. For science, you need to get a chronograph, and then we need to get one of those bending machines that flex test stuff, and just see how much pressure is needed to break it. Go for it. I mean, do it. Why not?
Do it.
It's $35,000. Just pull that out of the couch cushions.
And Doxa sounds like Spooky's 80s. And Vonkrel says, yeah, I'm curious about how much force it takes to bend these thin ones. And Doug, of course, laughs because we start talking about Spooky on it. You know what? This is a thought I had. If I wanted to be a professional YouTuber, Tony, here was my plan. The only problem is, like, the economics of it completely collapse. I would do the but will it blend, but with luxury watches?
Oh, like, it'd be so good.
Like, and think, like,
so viral.
Oh, think about at 1 million subs, I would buy a Paul Newman Daytona and chuck it in the blender and just shred it. Why not? That's all about the clicks, people.
You got to get the right blender. You got to get a really good blender. And
yeah, not my cheapo, like $8 Kmart one. If you all remember Kmart.
No, you need to get one of those really good blenders. And then, but the secret is, if you really want to go viral, you need to pick something that will rage everybody.
That's why the Paul Newman one. Come on, I mean, it's a beloved watch. He's a beloved actor from a beloved film, from a beloved brand, except until lately with the AD thing.
Because I have a feeling that, honestly, it'd be like when they pushed the pinball machine off of the roof. Even though it was just a pile of junk.
Todd Tucky for his YouTube channel. You can still find it too. I think it was a Street Fighter 2 pinball machine. Went to the top of their building and chucked it off the roof, and people went apoplectic. Like, how could you destroy that? There were only, however many thousand they made.
There's only 15,000 of them made. How could you do that?
All right, it wasn't that highly produced, but I mean, it's Street Fighter 2. It's crap. I mean, it's not the video game. It was crap. So Paul has noted he just bought the green dial IWC 43mm and had to get it from a Beverly Hills boutique because his authorized dealer couldn't get it for him, and he had to pay full price. Now, I have heard that the boutiques don't negotiate for a lot of the brands on price. Like, if you go to the Omega boutique, you ain't getting no 10% discount or whatever. You're gonna pay for, which is why I thought about going to our Omega dealer to see about the 300M, but then I thought, Joma's got it 27% off. Plus, I found a $300 off coupon. I didn't think I could get that out of the AD.
Yeah, probably not.
So I didn't even try. Because last I had read, Omega had, even through the authorized dealers, was closer to 10 to 15%, not 20 plus like it used to be. And that's by design by Omega, trying to, because, it kind of cheapens the brand when you have a lot of stuff out on gray market, is kind of the concern that they have. and they're trying to move. Like Omega's trying to move. Let me do the right camera angle. They're trying to move up market with Rolex, which is interesting because in a lot of ways, like Omega's tech's better, but it's just not seen as the same. And I think Rolex, when they think about Omega, think, well, that's what we have Tudor to compete with. So it's, it's just how it is. But let's jump to some colorful watches. Yay, color. Okay, back to Hodinkee. So I looked up how to say this one time, and I don't remember how to say it anymore. So I'm going to say Sezpek. Does that sound right, Tony? Is it Sezpek?
Zipek.
Sezpek. I don't know.
I can't actually see it because the
like people in chat
it.
type out how to say it, so we can still say it wrong because you typed it instead of telling us. So anyway, I mentioned on that. Yeah, I mentioned on that that Breguet, the guilloche, and that's what these things have. Is like this guilloche work. And hey, we were talking about with Paul in the chat about green. So Sezpek Geneva has these I thought very interesting watches. So all right, now I'm gonna admit I would never buy one of these, because it violates one of my core fundamental principles of they are cropping way too many numerals around the chapter ring. Instead of just not printing the numerals, they do the crop thing, and that always irks me. But otherwise, really interesting hand design. You got the sub-seconds off, but they've balanced it. But they've got like a dual hand thing here. One of them is going to tell you what day of the week it is, and the other one tells you how many days are left in the power reserve.
Interesting.
So, yeah, because I had to look it up because I'm like, what is this 1 through 7? Because you think 7 days a week, 7. And at first I thought, like, if it pointed at Wednesday, it was going to point at the 4. But these are stacked hands. They're doing separate things.
So they're not tied together. They're separately and they move independently.
Yeah, I think so. I haven't found a video of it.
Okay, because at first I was thinking it was like, I don't know if you remember, but at one point in time, I had that Camaro that had the speedometer, that the left side of the speedometer was miles per hour, the right side was kilometers, and it was just one dial that just swung.
Yeah, and that's cool if you've got some. It's just when I saw it, I was like, but what would you do that for days of the week on? And Von Krell says it's Chopek.
Chopek.
I wonder, is it Chopek or Chopek? Chopek, probably. We'll emphasize the first syllable.
It's green. I like it. I like the green. I like you said, the hands are interesting. I really like the design and the coloring and everything, and the balance. The cropping doesn't bother me like it does you. I don't really have a problem with it.
Why do you not have a problem with gross cropping?
Because it doesn't bother me.
And Paul says he loves Zapek for a few years now. Amazing dials and case backs. The movements are beautiful to look at. And I said Zapek because Doug says the C is silent and it's Zapek.
Zapek.
I wish it was French because then I would just like say, because like all the letters are silent in French. So it feels like. That's what it feels like. Now they don't just have a green one; they have a blue one too. Which I actually thought, look, I like green a lot of times. I do think the blue looks better though.
It's close. I really do like the green quite a bit, but this blue does look nice.
But I like the guilloche on it. It's and I almost don't notice this cropping. Like I could live with this, but yeah, I just wish I like green more with like sunburst style and stuff for me. Given how dark they've gone, which I'm good with the dark green, but so. Standard pretty much dress watch. Otherwise, it's obviously got it's more complex than your typical dress watch. But the Roman numerals, the elegance, the 50 meters of water resistance, which is shower proof. Bigger than I thought, though. 42.5 millimeters.
Oh wow!
I would have thought this was under 40.
And it's almost 12 millimeters thick compared to that 3 millimeter we just looked at.
Yeah, this is too fat. They're like, where's the tech?
It's so fat.
Interesting tidbit. Paul says Patek and Zapek were partners back in the early 1800s. We remember it like it was yesterday. And so let's see. Movement. all right, movement being 32 millimeters, so a fairly big movement. I get it though, because it's got all those indicators on it. Swiss francs are roughly the same as American dollars last I looked, so it's a little more than $18,000.
Oh,
not limited though. Yeah, not I mean, but it's steel, right? Yeah, it's steel. I was gonna say that's pretty good for a dress watch, but most of the time dress watches are precious metal, and that explains part of the cost. And another interesting tidbit, according to Obese Tuna, in the United Kingdom, Patek is a brand of curry powder. You're a fan of curry. What's your favorite color flavor curry?
I mean, I don't.
You're just like curry is my favorite curry.
Basically.
I thought there was like a
whatever's
yellow curry, red curry.
Yeah, most of what
curry.
I eat is yellow curry. I can't. Some curries get way spicier than I can take.
Yeah,
I can eat pretty spicy stuff.
Indian food has some serious heat,
crazy insanity.
Well, speaking of crazy insanity, we're gonna bounce back to Oris. I know we already talked about Oris mostly before you were on about that Diver 65. That wasn't the only Geneva Watch Days reveal they had, though, Tony. They had another one. They actually had 3 other ones. Aqua States. So Aquas is more dive watches Oris does do more than dive watches, but now these are 36.5 millimeters. So they're very kind of more dress watch size, but they've gone with these mother of pearl dials. They don't do the color match date windows. They're just doing the white date windows. I like the bezels on these. I almost did a video about these, but I don't think any of them would necessarily appeal to me color wise. I like the design of the case and stuff more than the dials themselves. But I think they had a couple or a different mother of pearl style watch a while ago, and so I guess what they call them blush pink, Aegean blue, and seafoam green, or as I call them, pink, blue, green. The pink almost reminds me of salmon, but it's too pink for that.
I don't know. I do know what it is. They just don't really do anything for me at all. I don't hate them. I don't like them. They seem very common.
Yeah, I read in one, I don't know if it was this article, I think it might have been the Hodinkee coverage of this, but the speculation is that these may be more targeted to women. 36 millimeter, 36.5 millimeter would easily be seen as a min-sized watch, but it is small for a dive watch. And the soft colors are kind of seen as, okay, well, we're being more colorful. So maybe that's the angle Oris is going. Like, it's a unisex watch, but they're hoping to get more women to buy the watches. So they made these sort of changes. Size wise, though, I think it's a great choice for all shoppers, basically, other than people like you, Tony, with huge wrists. Like, I don't know about you with a 36.5 millimeter watch. Maybe if we put really long lugs on it, you'd be able to do it.
My wrist is rather hefty, just like the rest of me. So
I do like this blue. I like the green too. Actually, the pink, if it was more salmon, I think would appeal to me more. Paul has noted the Aquas needs to slim down the thickness and they'd sell like hotcakes. Obese says that 36 is a great size. Doug has agreed with you.
Smart man.
And Von Kroll has said he likes Christopher Ward's new 300-meter diver. That I don't believe was part of Geneva Watch Days, but if I recall, and Von Kroll can correct me, and I can always load it up here if I need to, I believe the CW diver that they just came out with was actually, they did like a series of polls on their forum or on a watch forum, and they kind of designed a watch based off of the feedback from their customers, essentially.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if I
we're doing a popularity poll.
Yeah. I was just trying to think. I mean, again, going back to pinball, if Pinside, the #1 pinball forum, ran a pinball company, it would be out of business in a month with their decision making. So I wonder, do non-experts end up designing a good watch, or do they mishmash everything together into an abomination? These watches are For retail price, $2,400. Again, not bad. Not in-house movements, so that explains why that is the case. I was wondering what the thickness on these models were. It were same as before, so 12.5 millimeters thick. Yeah, that is hefty. So I definitely see the point like Paul has about the company has great dials and a history. The Aquas has, but it's too thick. And Peter, welcome, Peter, says this reminds me of the Tiso Sea Star they released in the 36 millimeters a few months ago. It doesn't look right as a diver in person. Hopefully this wears better. Yeah, I was actually doing some research because the Tiso PRX, which I have a PRX. It's based on what the old historic Sea Stars are, but Tiso actually still makes Sea Stars, but they look very, very different to the PRX. It's I'd almost say weird, but I imagine it's because they've been continuing the Sea Stars for a while now. So yeah, interesting choices. So let's see. Next on the chopping block is another Bulgari. So we did Bulgari once before. For those that don't remember, those were the 35 to 45,000 gold watches that were super duper ultra awesomely thin. And this go around, we actually have another Hodinky piece here, which is called the Sorayama Special Edition. So this is a limited run watch, and I just thought it had a really kind of I don't think I'd say full on crazy design, but kind of. Let me catch up here a little bit on the chat. So Vonkro says, yes, that's right. Whatever you think about that, the watch has to be considered on its own merits. And Peter has noted, I own the PRX. Got it after you showed it a while ago. Bad influence you are. In my defense, I showed you the quartz one. So I saved you as much as I could versus the Powermatic ones, which now they've got like 35 millimeter PRXs. And I'm assuming that they may end up. I had someone ask me on one of my YouTube shorts if they were going to make the 35 millimeter in an automatic, and I checked the size of the Powermatic movement, and it did seem small enough to fit in a 35 millimeter watch. So I assume they will at some stage, but I haven't heard anything official about it. But anyway, back to this Bulgari. So this is apparently they have a line of aluminum watches. I never look into Bulgari, so I had no idea about this. But so this is designed by a Japanese artist. His name is Hajime Sorayama. And so it is this weird, like I don't know, but they've branded it Bulgari in super huge letters around the bezel. I want to see if there's another better photo of it because so that's the case back, close case back watch. But he only puts a 2. That's the only number.
That's
everything else is this. Yeah. And I
wonder what the reasoning for that is. Is it because there's no 3? Is it, I don't
No, it actually, per the article, it's because that's Sorayama's lucky number.
Okay. That's an interesting idea.
The second was to, let's see, when I was asked to be a part of this collaboration, I developed 3 main design elements. I'll highlight the relevant aspects. The first consists of a circular pattern swirls on a dial inspired by the surface of Spirit of St. Louis, which made the first
how it looks.
Made the first nonstop solo flight across the Atlantic. And you're a big jet and airplane fan, so you probably knew about the Spirit of St. Louis already, Tony. But yeah, all I knew was it was a plane. And the second was to put the actual number 2 at the 2 o'clock only, because 2 is my lucky number. I was born February 22nd on the 22nd year of the Japanese Showa era. I mean, it's kind of cool, but I also find artists are weird. So I also think it's like, well, so is it unlucky to show any of the other numbers? Do we only get to have the lucky number? It's so unbalanced to me. I don't think I could ever get behind it.
It's really weird.
40 millimeter watch. Hodinky usually does a good job of putting the specs at the bottom. 100 meters of water resistance. It is loomed with Super Luminova. 42-hour power reserve, so the movement doesn't sound all that spectacular. Only $3,300 for a limited watch, but it is limited at 1,000 units, which is not particularly limited in the world of watches. So, I mean, yeah, the dial looks cool. Like, I love the aluminum metallic look of the dial. The 2 thing is just, it's a little too out there for me.
Yeah,
I will say it's so shiny that it does blend in. So it,
yeah, I don't know that I really like the bezel.
yeah, I don't, Bulgari being that, it feels like the people with like the Louis Vuitton bags that say Louis Vuitton, just in case you didn't know that I'm rich. Can't we be a little subtle? Pete says Bulgari quartz. No, not quartz. It's a 4 hertz mechanical movement. And Von Kroll, see, this is me with the cropped numerals. This is like the OCD side. I'm not the only one like that. And Paul says, when will Rolex make an easy strap quick release on different straps? The time has come. The quick release straps have been, and actually I was going to say in my defense, but in my shame, I actually just put my my Explorer 2 on a seatbelt style NATO, because when I was at the Omega authorized dealer, they showed me their Omega NATO straps, and holy crap, are they comfortable. They're like made of the material that a seatbelt is made of. That's what it feels like. It's that smooth.
Interesting.
But they're like $120. So I was like,
oh, that's super cheap.
I was like, that's a really cool strap. And then I went home and searched for seatbelt type NATO, and I found people that sell them for 30. So I'm like, okay, that's what we're going to. So I got some. And I thought, let me put, because my Omega 300M and my Rolex Explorer 2 are the same lug width, 20 millimeters. I was like, let me get 3 straps, and then I can like share a mix and match and whatever. So I was struggling to take my Rolex off the bracelet because I was pulling it the wrong way. I spent like 5 minutes doing it. Finally, it was like, oh, I got to push out on it. Got it off, and then I was like, okay, everything else I've now ordered has quick release. Obviously, the NATOs no, because I'm just running them through the existing lugs, or spring bars. But it's like I ordered a new leather strap for my my Grand Seiko because I hate the bracelet, and it's like quick release. If you don't sell them as quick release, I won't buy the strap. So it's definitely it's become a thing. Oh, Bonko noted only the 2 is loomed. I did not catch that. Wow.
That's even worse.
So at night it's gonna be this glowy 2, and you're gonna be like, what is this? It's so practical. I mean, I think they got markers as well. Just the indices aren't loomed. Paul also does not like the bezel. And Obese has noted Bulgari has done quartz before. But which I didn't know, but I'm not totally shocked. I mean, a lot of companies, at least at one point, experimented with quartz.
Yeah. Well, while we were talking and we'd been talking about watch size, I went over, I grabbed my bowl of a hack. My hack is the smallest watch I have at 38 millimeters. But just so you can see, that's the hack on my wrist at 38 millimeters. I am afraid what anything under 38 millimeters would look like.
It would look smaller.
I mean,
but to be fair, field watches are supposed to be small. That's
right.
That's how I think of it.
That's true. But when you start getting to the point where it's,
Bonkrell merely laughs.
Available and seen than there is watch seen. When it starts looking like I'm wearing the dainty little ladies' watches that look like a button sitting on top of their wrist. That's a problem. My wrist is big enough I could probably actually wear a Mudmaster and it wouldn't look bad.
I'm not sure anyone can wear a Mudmaster and it not look too big. I mean, that's the point, but still, I don't know. It'd be funny to be like, someone's like, what do you got on under that tuxedo? Mudmaster.
Well, that's when you're in the camouflage tuxedo with the hunter orange vest going, or vest or cummerbund, I guess, going on, because it's the only thing that works correctly.
Paul has noted Omega, Cartier, and IWC are all moving to quick release straps. It's the way of the future. My JLC came with quick release on the Reverso. I've never owned an IWC or a Cartier, and my Omega I got the 300M did not have quick release. Well, since 38 millimeters, Tony, might arguably be somewhat too small for you. Maybe a 40 millimeter watch from de Bethune.
It's a sat. What's that on the crown? I love the pattern on the crown.
it's like it's stars. Stars. That's a reference to Resident Evil for those of you that are not familiar with stars. So this is like a moon phase, I'm assuming. Or maybe that's the moon phase. Or maybe they're both the moon phase. I don't know. And it's got stars, and then it's got the day, and it's got the month. And then this is not a center of seconds. This is the day indicator.
So this has everything that I said I hated about,
Yes.
calendars and days
Yes.
and dates and moon phases.
Yes.
But I think it's balanced very nicely. It doesn't look too insanely busy to me. And overall, I like the general look, even if I think setting it would probably be just a mess.
No, I mean, if it's perpetual, usually it's like they're intensive guides, and this is where people get watch winders because they don't ever want to reset a perpetual.
Do it one time and never again.
Obese has noted that traditional field watches were around 34 millimeters, and in fact, if you go to Marathon's website, they will still happily sell you them in the 34 millimeter size. Obese has also said very impressive and bloody expensive, no doubt. Well, we haven't explored the price yet, have we, Tony? Maybe, Tony, I want you to guess how much you think this watch is. 50,000. Okay. I'm not going to guess because I've looked over the article before. I don't remember the price, but you would not know that I don't. So, I guess, okay, I'll say a number. I'll say 75,000 because I don't remember. All right. 40 millimeter watch. Well, I'm sorry. The last one was 40 millimeters wide. Yeah, 40 millimeters. Okay. They had a prior iteration apparently that was 44. I was getting a little confused. So here's a nice little wrist shot as I tease this out before I load up the price.
I missed the price by that much.
And Paul has even said, how much are these watches and who's buying them? I think they're a fortune. I'd rather buy a Patek for less. Okay.
Oh, wow.
That might be a spoiler, but maybe Paul's wrong. Maybe he's saying that to make you...
I just way underguessed.
The case is grade 5 titanium. That's 3 grades higher than grade 2. I don't know if higher grade is better or worse. I don't know, because I've seen something about grade 2 titanium on a different watch, and I don't know if 5 or 2 is better.
A blue alligator strap with polished titanium pin buckle or cloth, made from only the purest baby alligators.
Yes, it does have baby alligators. Only 30 millimeters of water resistance. It is a full-on perpetual calendar, so I have a feeling we are both well under what we should have priced it at.
I did see. I just said 50. I meant million. So.
Well, probably not that much. All right. Okay, titanium and white gold balance wheel. Okay, so it's got gold in it. Silicone escape wheel because they can. I mean, even my Rolex Oyster Perpetual, I found out the indices and I think the hands are white gold. I'm like, why? The case is steel. And they're like, because we can. 5-day power reserve. Hours, minutes, moon phase, perpetual calendar with leap year. Oh, that's what that dot is. Probably to tell you whether or not you're in the leap year. Some watches I know have a color indicator that'll tell, like Patek does that. But anyway, I've stalled it out enough, Tony. It's 145,000.
Oh, that's not traditionally limited.
Yeah, I love this.
Production is limited to 15 units per year.
Okay,
that's limited. You can say whatever you want. That's limited.
No. What they mean is, with Hodinky, because I did read this part of the article, what they mean is this does not have a raw numeric count. In theory, they may build these forever, but they're only doing 15 a year. But they're not saying there will only ever be 30 of them.
Right.
That's what they
mean. More
mean.
likely than not, there'll only ever be 30 of them because they'll come out with another model and take it. Oh, we replaced that one. So,
wow. So Paul notes this company was out of business until Watchbox bought them. Watchbox is I mostly associate them as a used watch place. They put out a lot of really nice spec videos. If you ever need to look up a review of a watch on just specs, you don't even need to search Watchbox. Just search for any watch. There's probably a Watchbox video on it. In about 5 to 8 minutes, they'll tear through the entire. I mean, they won't say anything negative because it's a sales thing because they've got one for sales. Why they did it?
Of course, it's one of those.
But,
we rate this one a B+.
So it's not like
it's the worst watch we've ever
Right.
seen at the B plus.
It's not like how my review videos are, but on the other hand, they're more efficient. And Tim Masso knows a lot more about watches than I do, so he flies through specs and like can explain the patterning on the dials and stuff. And I always have to poach that information from a smarter person. So, Paul asks why. Why this company was almost out of business, Tony? Why is this 145,000? Why? No, what? What? Yeah, no. Like I think, and Paul can correct me if I'm wrong. He thinks I'll be lucky to sell 2 of them. I think you can get Patek.
All 15 are already spoken for because people are dumb.
I think you can get Patek annual calendars for like around 100,000.
Oh, it doesn't matter. People will still buy them because they're like, oh, they're only making 15 a year. It's so pretty. Oh, it's the new thing. It's the blah 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 blah. No, people are just dumb. They're dumb.
All right. We're going to Patek. This is not one of the Geneva Watch Days. We're exploring. I'm going to Patek's Grand Complications. This looks like a perpetual calendar. It says it is. All right. Holy crap! I don't really like the look of it, but
it's ugly as can be. And I also don't like rose gold.
Oh, I do. All right. White gold it is. There. All right. There you go. Now you'll buy it. And you'll like it. So what's the price?
Did that come with matching cufflinks to match your watch? Is that is that what you scrolled past? Because that's the kind of quality I expect. When I buy a watch for an insane amount of money, I want matching cufflinks and a tie tack to go with it.
Maybe. I guess so. I guess you can have the matching cufflinks in their what Maltese cross or whatever their logo is. I'm sure that's not the right cross. What's the price? I don't see the price.
If you have to ask what the price is,
I have to
afford it.
I'm not trying to afford it. I just want to judge it. That's all I want. Why can't we just judge things? All right. We don't know how. All right. 5327G. All right, I'm bouncing back. We gotta Google it. Google. I unshared, so you can't see like all the porn sites. All right. No, we're in our incognito mode. It's fine. Price. 85,000 on Chrono 24.
Oh, see, is that with the cufflinks?
No, let those cufflinks go. Let them go.
Why did they look better than the watch?
Vonkrell noted all his perpetual calendars are quartz.
That's the way to do it.
OB said, I expect the workmanship is exquisite, and I would hope so.
For that price, I would expect so.
Especially for the cufflinks.
So.
Paul has noted Tim Masso is brilliant, and he doesn't own one, and he practically runs Watchbox. And this is the company that got Jack Forster over from Hodinkee, who is, I think, generally seen as their smartest and best writer. Long time, like he'd been a journalist in watches for 20 years. Vonkrell says, annual calendar is much more practical, in my opinion. And I would agree. I'm not sure I would ever be in the market for either, though, but that's just me. So, all right, Tony, we're going to go back to something affordable now. We gotta get away from this stuff. So Doxa, are you familiar with Doxa?
No.
I'm trying to think if I've ever done a video about Doxa. I think I did a video where I mentioned them amongst a number of other watches. Doxa is one of those dive watch companies. That's what they made their name on. And back in the day, they were, I believe, the company that invented the orange dial for the dive watch, based off of some like studies or experiments they did to find that it was the easiest to see at depth in dark water. So that's kind of their big claim to fame. And they have a lot of really sort of authentic watches to that aesthetic. Now, they had developed a watch, I don't remember which army it was for, if it was the Swiss army or what, but they recently, like last year, I think it was, maybe it was earlier this year, they had what was called the Doxa Army Watch, and they kind of relaunched it. Okay, it was earlier this year, it was April of this year. But so there was this watch, and it was done up, but there weren't a lot of examples of it when it was an actual military watch. So they released it, but it was an LE. It was a true LE, 100 pieces. was all they did. So now they've actually gone ahead and put it out in stainless steel, and I guess it's a regular production watch now. So this might be a watch that you could pull off. It's 42.5 millimeters in diameter. The lug distance isn't actually that extreme, though. It's only 44.5. You can kind of see that the lugs are pretty short from the dial diameter to the lugs is not very long. I like that strap.
I really like that strap. I like this whole watch. Everything about this watch I like.
Doxa has some really cool watches. I've looked at a few. Thinking about maybe if I ever want to pull the trigger on one. It's got this really 60s style sort of case. The limited model was ceramic, so that's the difference. They didn't do it in precious metal. They had a ceramic version, but now they've done it in steel.
See, I like watches done in steel, and I like that. I like the bracelet on that one, but I think that other band, that bluish band, I really liked the look of that one. Yeah, that one.
I wonder if it comes with both. I guess we'll see as we scroll down. Paul, it's noted great watches with Doxa and amazing colors. Yeah, they have incredible colorways. Them and Zodiac.
The patterning that they have on there is great. The loom, I love the look of it. I love that big square. I like everything about this watch.
I do really like dials that loom the numerals, not just the pip, not just the marker for the minute hand. Only uses the ETA 2824, so that's third party movement. So cost might actually not be insane on this. Okay, 2,000 up to 2,250 for the bracelet. Oh, okay. So let's see. Retail price of 2,090 on bracelet, 2,050 with the rubber strap, and they have a model with a bronze bezel and green insert. That's 2,290 on bracelet, 2,250 on strap. And the green bezel version is first time Doxa has ever used bronze. Interesting. Okay, bronze in dive watches has become fairly popular. Oris does a number of them. It was a big launch of theirs last year. Vonkrell noted, I'm leaning toward no date for a dress watch now. I actually, for dress watches, agree. I prefer them no date. Paul says Jacques Cousteau wore Doxa on many of his dives, and that they have great styles and colors, and are very comfortable to wear, which is good to know, because comfort is a huge thing, obviously, with watches. So okay, so it is a green strap. That is really cool. I like that.
Yeah,
like Army Man green. And okay, so this is the one with the bronze bezel. I see. Okay, it's not obnoxiously brown. I do have a bronze watch, but it's the like Tudor aluminum bronze, so it doesn't get really discolored. It just gets kind of darker, or that's the idea, or at least it's slower about it. Vonkrell says Etta and Salida are his speed now. No fancy in-house movements. I kind of agree, and the reason I'm going to say it that way is I think a lot of people overrate or overpay on a lot of, like, they take, like, in-house movement means more to them than it should, in my view. That being said, my problem with baseline Etta and Salidas is the power reserves are like 38 hours, and I also get a kind of irked that it's that low. Like, I wish they would put out better power reserves as their third-party movements, just at this point, because so many others have solved that problem clearly. And I guess, we could debate whether we want them to do it in the swatch group method, where it's like, hey, let's take every ETA move, because they own ETA. Let's take every ETA movement, turn it down to 3 hertz, and then get 80 hours out of it. I don't know. Like dress watches at 3 hertz, I think are okay. I think it's anything where you can really notice the sweeping seconds. It does kind of look a little too old school, but that's just me. Of course, pricing. A lot of times, though, I'll put up with that low power reserve if I can save $1,000 on the watch. So, like we were talking about earlier with Oris, as cool as that 5-day power reserve is, I being the cheap person I am, would probably say I'd rather save the $1,200 and just stick in the Salida. And Doug says, so under 3,000, ETA movement looks rugged, cool looking. I may consider it. And these might hit gray now that they're not limited. Obviously, the LE version was never going
right when there was only 100 of them. That's there's no way, but.
And so I've only got one more I plan to talk about, Tony. This is the one that people way back, they probably already signed off. That got spoiled. And that is Tudor.
Tudor.
And this is the one I put out a video. I think it was just yesterday. I think maybe it was the day before. Feels like only yesterday, regardless. So this is the Pelagos 39. Oh, DeRosa is still here. I thought maybe DeRosa. I tried to stall it out as punishment, but I what can I do? I'm too efficient. So Tony, I don't know if you're familiar with the Pelagos.
I am not.
Okay. Basically Tudor has two dive watch types. They have the Black Bay line and the Pelagos line. Pelagos is titanium.
Okay.
That way, like, if I were to dumb it down, that's the basic. Is like Black Bay is steel or bronze or silver or gold, because Tudor's done all of that for some reason. Or Pelagos, which is a more modern design and also titanium. They also had better depth ratings, so that's not the case for this. So it's called Pelagos 39 because it's 39 millimeters in diameter. And I see Peter's already typed in saying, this 39 millimeter is a grand slam for Tudor with the sunburst bezel. This is the one. Or, as Baby Yoda might say, this is the way. Except Baby Yoda can't talk, so he wouldn't say that. And his name's not Baby Yoda, but I'm going to call him Baby Yoda anyway. So, here's what they've done. Tudor has had a couple of... All right, this is actually the 5th version that I'm aware of the Pelagos. Pelagos has been available in black, and it's been available in blue. But the black has been a matte black before. As you can see, this is like a sunburst black, so it's shiny. And I see that Doug has noted he loves Tudor. The hour hand design just bothers him. So these are snowflake hands, or more specifically, the hour hand and the second hand are what are called the snowflake, which some people despise. Some people are neutral to, and maybe there's some people who love it. I don't think I've ever met anyone who actually said they love the snowflake hand.
I mean, but they're fine.
That's my stance. Is they're fine, but I don't. But the only time I don't like them is if they obfuscate the ability to do something. So there are black bays that are chronographs with the snowflake, and they actually block subdials in certain positions. And I'm like, why would you do that? No date. Some of the Pelagos watches, most of them, I think, 2 or 3. Yeah, I think 3 of the 5, and this is the 5th, have a date. This is a no date. 3 of the 5 had 500 meters of water resistance. These are now down to 200 meters. That's still obviously very substantial. That won't impact most people. 3 of the 5 had helium escape valves. This has eschewed the helium escape valve. And that's the main differences. Still titanium, still got lots of text. Some of the Pelagos watches had 5 lines of text. This has 4, but it's not the only one with 4. It gets hard with 5. It's so hard for me to do a comparison because there's so many things. Design. I always say design because I'm never sure how to say the last part of his handle. Atelier from Aruba, but he had a great video. Do check that out if you haven't yet about the Pelagos 39. It's a better done video than mine. You can watch mine too, though. I'll take the ad revenue. So anyway, this is I think of all the stuff I saw come out of Geneva Watch Days, I think it's definitely the most interesting one, in part because Tudor is just a company that a lot of people are really interested in, especially people who wanted to like Rolex, but just can't because they can't get them anymore. But yeah,
I will say, looking at it overall, I prefer it to the black base, with the possible exception is I just really like the look of the Black Bay bronze. But as was mentioned before in the chat, or maybe it was you. Nope, it was in the chat. DeRosa mentioned it. I do like the square better than the round hour markers, where the Black Bay has the round hour markers. I like the square hour markers better. I like the overall look better, and I really like the sunburst dial. That is really nice on this. I'm really a big fan of this watch right here.
Okay, I pulled up DeRosa's comment so people could see it. Snowflake with square hour markers look okay. Round hour markers, it's too many shapes on the dial. Interesting point. Design says he likes the no dates, and he said also, all right, so the pronunciation is is it A or I see that's the thing. I'll say Atelia. Let's do it like Spanish, instead of A. Atelia. Oh, that was DeRosa's interpretation. Design's like, oh God, no, DeRosa has already spoiled the whole show back like at the first 5 minutes, and now I'm using his pronunciations. Design says it's Atelier. Atelier. Oh, okay, Atelier. That word sounds like it means something to me, but I don't remember. Atelier. Okay, I'll try and remember, but I'm really bad. So Design Atelier. Back above noted he likes no dates, and that's actually part of the thing I liked about the Black Bay Bronze was it was a no date watch. Plus, it had Arabics at like the 369, which I really like how those Arabics happen to look. Go ahead and catch up a little bit here on the chat as well.
Yeah. Let's see. I agree with anybody who likes no dates. Like I said earlier,
they've really grown on me.
I like that kind of
a lot. So let's see. Paul has noted it's a better value than a Rolex sub. I think that would be hard to argue, quite frankly. So I do concur with that. Von Kroll says it'll take a while for Lume to die on that hour hand, though. Yeah, and actually with my Black Bay Bronze, one of the things I really like, which makes sense for a dive watch, is it's so they're so good on the Lume that it just really stands out. And Scott, who's actually joined the Watches with Dennis, or as we call it, the WWD Club, for a mere 99 cents a month, so that you get access to emotes. That's my excuse. I turned on everything with YouTube. I'm not an influencer. I have a real career. I don't do this. This is not my real career. I don't mean that. I was like, wait, that sounds really disparaging to people that do YouTube for a career. That's not my intent. I have a profession. This is just for fun.
I work for
this. Is just for fun. But if you want to join it, I'm more than happy to take your 99 cents a month. But Scott, he's emailed a ton to me, a lot of questions and suggestions for the channel, which I appreciate. He wants a tot, this or that, Tony. Black Bay 58 or the Pelagos 39. They're both 39 millimeter watches.
Let me pull up the 58.
I'll load it up here on the channel as well for folks. So I've loaded here are the 5 Pelagi. Can we say Pelagi?
Hey, I'm Pelagi. How you doing?
Design Atelier. Is it Pelagi or Pelagoses?
Terrible.
I'm going to trust his pronunciation.
Okay, Black Bay 58.
You gotta find the Black Bay. See, like, I love this. Dive watches, women's watches, classic watches, sports watches, Black Bay. It's its own thing. It's its own thing. Oh, okay. Which, I mean, it is. So, Black Bay 58. Here we go.
Okay.
Bronze, gold, silver, more silver, steel. Here, let's pull up a blue one. All right. So, no date watch, 3 lines of lower text, $3,800 in stainless steel. And let's pull up the Pelagos 39. $4,400, so $500 more. Titanium also comes with a rubber strap in addition to the bracelet. 4 lines of text with the red. They both do the snowflake design. So the handset is identical. The bezel is not identical. The Black Bay does a 10 marker on the bezel. Then there's the 20, 30, 40, 50, whereas this skips the 10 and just use indices like all the way through the 15 and then does the 20, 30, 40, 50. So a little bit different design on the bezel. And I guess those are the main different surely the calibers of this. MT 5400 is in the Pelagos. No, they're different movements. MT 5402. 70 hours of power reserve, though, is the same. Here's our grade 2 titanium. We were talking about grade 5 titanium earlier. This is grade 2. Is that good or bad? Does anyone know, is grade 2 or 5 better? Like, is it better to go higher or to go lower? How's that work? And everyone's telling me that atelier means workshop. Okay. Is that in Spanish? I took 4 years of Spanish. You'd think I'd be good at it, but I'm not. I should probably say I never took. Let me correct that. I never took Spanish. I don't know words.
Grade 5 is best. It's better.
Okay, thank you. Well, that was like a over $50,000 watch. So I guess it makes sense.
Grade 2 is commercially pure titanium and provides lightweight and corrosion resistance, but isn't as strong as alloys like grade 5.
All right.
Grade 5 is titanium alloyed with 6% aluminum and 4% vanadium. Vanadium, and has heat and corrosion resistance.
Here, I'll load a Black Bay black one up instead. But let's get back to Scott's Tot. Which do you choose, the 58 or the 39?
39.
I agree with you.
I just think it just looks better. I think the simple fact of the square hours over the round hours help it a lot. I think it makes it look better.
Yeah, actually,
that alone would push it over the edge, I think. But
pulling it up, you're right. I didn't catch that at first, even though it had been pointed out. But as I look at the two side by side, yes, I just think it's a cleaner look.
It is. It's a much cleaner look.
And design, Atelier says, I love the indexes. So we agree.
Yeah, no, I really like that one.
Design also says that some are saying it kills the sub. So that's the Relic Submariner. I disagree. It looks similar, but not in impression. Yeah, the issue, I don't think there are sub killers. I was thinking about doing a video like that, and I thought it was too mean. I was afraid people might see it as too much as me making fun of the watch finder videos where they have the real clickbaity titles. No offense to Watchfinder, I understand you gotta get the clicks any way you can. But I was gonna call it, and maybe I should do it. I'll get your opinion, Tony. I was gonna call it, is Rolex the Rolex killer that kills Rolex killer? That was what I was gonna call. And then I was just gonna talk about how I wish I had a British accent because I want to do it like that to make it sound really sophisticated. And it'd be like, okay, well, here's this watch, but can it kill the Rolex? Only a Rolex can kill another Rolex. And but as much of a joke as that is, gets at kind of what Design Atelier is saying here. It's the sub, because it says Rolex on the dial, it's so iconic that it just can't. Tudor will never kill Rolex. It's not going to happen. Not in any conceivable way that I can imagine. Rolex is hard to get. And even if you set all that aside, they're just different. Like Rolex, probably the indices on Rolexes, I believe, even the sports ones are gold. The watch is steel. This is a titanium watch. Some people don't like titanium. It scratches a lot easier, especially, grade 2 versus grade 5. There's just other things involved. So no, I don't think so. Bronco says, get wrecked, influencers. They need to, guys, they need to eat. I'm not here to stop. I'm just a simple normal. I was going to say I'm a normal person, but there's really nothing normal.
And take pictures of it and then throw the food away because they're not actually going to eat it. But no, I mean, I agree with you when you're saying it's not a Rolex kill. It's not going to kill the Submariner. There's no way. I will say that I would buy this. I would prefer this one to a Submariner if it was just not taking into account the fact that the Submariner is going to always have a greater resale value than you would ever possibly believe it should. But just off of pure looks, I would take this one.
Okay. I actually am a big fan of the no date sub. It's such an icon. My other than it's hard to get and expensive. My biggest concern actually with me ever getting a sub is I kind of like having watches that aren't just like the stereotype of, okay, we need to get a Submariner, and then we need to go and we need to get the blue Omega 300M, and then we need to go and we need to get the classic and the Cartier tank, and but I'm okay with those if I get them weird. Like, okay, I didn't get the James Bond 300M, Tony. I got the gray dial one, so I'm different. Aren't I? Am I different enough and special enough? Like, I don't have a Rolex sub, Tony. I have an Explorer 2. It's the weird wacky one, right? I'm the cool friend, right? Because I got the weird one.
Is there any Rolex that can really considered the weird wacky one? Like
I mean, people would tell you that. Yeah,
weird wacky one is
The
Rolex
Milgauss.
weird
The
wacky one
Milgauss.
is when you and all of your other friends from the boarding school get together, and one of you has a slightly different color tie than the rest. That's about as far out there as
Oh,
Rolex
so
gets to weird and
mean.
wacky.
So mean.
You guys show up to go out, and one of you is wearing off-white instead of white. That's about as weird as it gets.
So I'll go. All right, we may have a point. Catch up a bit on chat because I've seen a few here. So DeRosa has noted the Black Bay 58 needs a bracelet update like the new Ranger got. T-clasp adjust, no rivets. Now this is something I'll ask you about that a few of the Pelagos fans and design atelier had noted. He didn't know, who knows how to say Pelagos in plural. The 39 versus the traditional. I'm curious what people think about. Let me close that one out. So this uses the T-Link bracelet. The Black Bay 58s don't use the T-Link yet. It was, except for the Black Bay 58 bronze. That was what it was introduced on. So this is the T-Link bracelet. But the old Pelagos used this adjustment system. Do you think one is better than the other? They do, but it has micro adjustments. It's hard to see, obviously. And by hard to see, I mean it's impossible to see with the photo. But the slim, like more elegant T-Link, or do you like this really industrial style extension method, which is like spring loaded, that the old Pelagos watches have? The big Pelagos watch. The old ones are 42 millimeter for comparison purposes, which are the same size as the traditional Black Bay non-58, except the bronze, which is a 43, not a 42. Tudor's got to be weird about everything.
Our video desynced in a really weird way over here.
Yeah. I blame your internet.
It's my internet. It's my fault.
So anyway, what are your? Oh, I guess I wasn't sharing the screen. Sorry about that.
Well, that was where I was going next. Is you're talking about this stuff, and you were
all right. Sorry, no, that was me. I didn't click the right thing. All right. So here's the old style with this spring-loaded bracelet, and this is what the 39 uses: a slim T-Link system.
I like it. I like the look on the 39. I
did too, but I thought that might be something that's polarizing. Design Atelier says the new Pelagos 39 also comes with a third rubber strap for dive extension. I knew it had a rubber dive extension. I didn't know how it worked. Here's what the rubber strap kind of looks like too. Just basic black strap. I've never worn a Tudor rubber strap, so I don't know like where their comfort is on it. Paul says at least one can walk into an AD and walk out with one, which again, yes, absolutely. That and there's something to be said for that. I don't like playing games. That's what I play video games to play games. I play pinball to play games. I don't buy watches to play games. And design says titanium grade 2 is more scratch prone and hard to polish. 5 is better and stronger, but more expensive, and you can mirror polish it. So that's cool to know. So thank you for that. And DeRosa has said, I didn't know we were sciencing. Should have paid more attention to the periodic table. Look, this chat, we do what we need to do here. In my real life, I don't open like 20 tabs either, but this is driving me crazy to have this many tabs open. I don't know what's going on.
In my real life,
I know you're one of those
20 or 30 tabs.
I was actually in a work meeting with some people with the state of Kansas, and one of them had like 50 tabs open, and I judged them in the webinar. I was like, why do you have that many tabs open? How do you find things? And then afterwards, I thought maybe that was inappropriate, but I don't know. I don't work for them, so I guess, say what I want. Paul said, the new 39 millimeter Pelagos is a hit. It will sell like hotcakes or pancakes. That's a design atelier reference, because I think he referred to them as both hotcakes and pancakes, which they are indeed one and the same. DeRosa said, Tudor will take some market share from mid-tier priced brands. With these new models, I can see people reaching a little higher to get a Tudor. This is an interesting thing. We talked earlier. Oh God, I gotta go. All right, I'm closing some of these tabs out, folks. I've got too many of them open. We talked a little bit earlier.
Now you're gonna need one. You're gonna want to reference back, and you've already closed it. So now you're gonna have to.
No. I almost did. I almost closed it because I meant to close the mother of pearl ones out. But we talked earlier about this 5-day power reserve Oris, right? The Diver 6512H. It is a $3,500 US watch. Do you take that, or do you take for $4,400 titanium and go with as cool as Oris is, there is bigger brand cachet with Tudor. So like if you're wanting the name recognition and maybe thinking about resale, not just like snootiness, but like you think I might want to watch for a couple of years and then maybe I want to get rid of it, you might have an easier time selling the Tudor off and not losing as much money. Like, what do you pick?
I think
do you
would be worth it. I think it'd be worth saving up the extra for the upgrade.
Yeah, I mean it's $900.
As much as I like this watch, I'm going to agree with what you said earlier when we were talking about it. I don't know that the 5-day power reserve is worth the extra cost. I don't know how great it is. This is a nice watch overall, but the extra money to step up is very worthwhile to me. There'd be a good argument to be made for it.
Okay. And that's a really interesting point you made about the movement in the Oris and the 5-day power reserve that comes from the movement. After I put the video out, I had a few people comment on it because they had heard, and I hadn't researched it well enough, so I had not, about concerns with this caliber 400 movement, that there were issues early on with the minute hand jumping was actually the problem. And I guess Oris has acknowledged it. They don't acknowledge it as a problem. They note that you need to wiggle the crown a little bit before you actually screw it back down and push it in. But that it's a feature. It's a feature, not a bug.
It's fine.
Jiggle the handle. Jiggle the handle. That's what they said. That's what they said. Just jiggle it. So okay. So that was that aspect about our discussion on the market share. Doug, back to the Milgauss that if you couldn't hear me, Tony, when you were saying about how there were no weird Rolexes, and I was in the background going, hey, the Milgauss, what about the Milgauss? He would like one for the second hand. The second hand is a lightning bolt. I cast magic.
So that's Rolex's weirdness.
Yes. That's about as weird as they get. I'm sorry. That's the best we can do. Von Curl has a Milgauss wall clock edition. So I've not seen one of those. I've seen the GMT Rolex wall clocks.
The Milgauss, it's like those movies where they take the kind of goofy girl and it turns out she was pretty all along type thing. That's the argument they make. It's like, oh, this is her, but I mean, she's still Rolex pretty, but she's a little different, but it's still some supermodel who was being used to play the part, who just like had their hair up in a bun and wore glasses.
Yes. Well, yeah, maybe. Let's see. Design Atelier has noted Pelagos is Greek for sea. So Pelagos seems to be the plural. Okay. Pelagos.
Okay.
These are the Pelagos. Now I want to call him Pegasus. Doug says, Oris for me, just based off the look. The Oris is nice looking. And that's one of the things. The Oris, I think
is.
The design, the Diver 65 is a vintage look. And that's one of the things where some people have speculated that maybe this new Pelagos 39 is Black Bay Killer, Tudor's other dive watch. The Black Bay is very vintage inspired, though. And the Pelagos is very modern. This is very vintage inspired. Whereas this is a more modern looking dive watch, in my view.
Right.
And design noted, remember, Oris is a really great independent brand that is building cachet. And and the problems with the in-house movement, that ain't just an Oris thing. Tudor, when they first came out with their in-house movement, there were date wheel complaints galore about the in-house movement with the date cycle. So I mean, Tudor ran into trouble too with their own in-house movement. And
I can appreciate an independent brand that is, with how many people are bought out and how many people are owned with everything, and own within them. They're just, it's like, oh yeah, this is going to beat this. Aren't they the same parent company? Yeah, they're the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think it's important to have those independents out there.
So Von Krell has noted, yes, the Milgauss is Rolex's hot librarian watch.
Exactly.
Doug, thanks for tuning into the show, Doug. He's going to go play some Attack from Mars, Tony's most favorite game of all time. Pinball game.
It is. Godzilla might push it over. It's close.
That's my Godzilla.
AFM is still the game to beat.
It's pretty good. And Scott has said he's so glad you jumped on, that we play well off each other. See, you didn't want just boring Dennis. You have saved the stream. You've saved it. Thank you.
It is experience, because we've been doing this for years. I'm just gonna go with years right now. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, don't think. Wait, it's too late at night to think. DeRosa's noted, if Oris gets cachet, they'll be bought by Swatch. Can you imagine the what would we call them? I was gonna say the moon. That'd be Omega though. I was thinking the Morris, the Moon Oris, the Morris. It's a collab between Omega, Oris, and Swatch. It'll be $500, fall apart in 5 minutes. With an unserviceable quartz movement, and it'll have all their logos on the dial. You won't be able to read anything. It'd be beautiful.
It'll be the Swarus.
Yeah.
I've got the new Swarus. It's great.
Now, one of the things I was going to just note here to end with was a little bit more on the Pelagos. So I noted there were 5 versions. So they're all 42 millimeter except for the new one. The Pelagos 39 is going to be $4,400. I think this one's the cheapest though. This Pelagos FXD. The FXD is a weird one. That's why I'm opening a little tab. But the other ones are all $4,725. So
I kind of like I'm pointing at my screen, like anybody can see what I'm doing.
What are you pointing at?
Scroll up just a hair. Man, I'll be honest. I really like the LHD. I like the look on the LHD. But
it's a left-hander.
Well, I understand.
Is that why you like it?
But
Are you lefty?
No, I'm not a lefty. But I like. I mean, maybe it's just the picture, but the way the coloration is different than all of the others.
Well, that's true.
It almost looks like it's got like a beige. On all the around like the indices and everything compared to the others. I don't know if it's the picture.
No, it's not. Well, it is the picture, but yes, they used they tinged the loom a little bit, not like a full on old timey vintage Fotina, but they tinged it. So it's a little brown. The date window, I don't know if they're all red or just the 28th. I bet they're all red though. It also, I was going to say, I think there's one other thing that's different about it. I guess those are the 2 things. So, it's the only other one that says Pelagos in red besides the 39. So
it would drive me nuts with the crown because it's a left-hander. But honestly, I really like the look.
Yeah, it's interesting. So comparing them all, like they all use stark white loom except the left-hander, which is kind of tinged. You can see it's the only one that's different. The new 39 and the left-hander have red Pelagos labeling. All the Pelagoses, though, had 5 lines of text, which a lot of people thought was excessive beneath or above the 6 o'clock index, except for the FXD. The FXD, though, has this fully marked bezel, and it rotates both ways, which is not standard for a dive watch.
Is that a Velcro strap?
It's a NATO. So it's got a buckle. It's cloth. It's a fabric strap. Listen, Mr. Judge, I heard that judgment. Supposedly these are very comfortable. My Black Bay Bronze unfortunately came with a leather strap, so I didn't get to try the cloth strap. But so yeah, it's just they all have something like different about it. I like the shiny dial versus the flatter blacks of the left-hander and the traditional Pelagos, like the first one. But here's what I think will happen. I think design Atelier is right. It's going to sell like the 39 is going to sell like hotcakes. But I think what's really going to knock it out of the park is surely the next thing they're going to do is this is going to come out in blue. That's like the color option that people want. And so a lot of people liked the FXD because of, they already had a blue with the ceramic disc in here and all that, but this one was a lot more affordable. And was popular because it got rid of the date. And that's the other thing. No date. So no date in blue, and 39 millimeter for most people is more wearable than 42. I think that's what does it.
Yeah, and the blue, just blue period, is super popular. I know there's been a big pop of greens lately, which I appreciate because I really like the greens.
Mhm.
And I like them more than blues. And I'm not a big fan of blue watches. I don't know what it is. It's like when I want a color pop, blue's not the color I go to for a
Mhm.
color pop. I am an orange guy, which is why I like a lot of dive watches that use the orange. I like some of the other shades that you see on stuff, but blues just don't really do it for me like there's like it does for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere at one point someone kind of argued that blue watches are actually like from a I guess I'm not any good with like color coordination, but like from a matching standpoint, blue actually doesn't go with as much stuff as green does. Like and I had to look up like a color wheel thing at one point because when I got my little green Rolex, it was like this, green goes well with brown, it goes well with gray, and it goes well with blue. And I'm like, those are like the colors of my suits and jackets. So whereas blue is like, okay, well, a lot of people wear a different color blue, and blue, it's like different shades that look a little weird, sort of thing. I guess I don't know. I don't know. I Maybe we just don't like blue as much.
You know what you need, Dennis?
No,
You
what
need a
do I need?
tan suit.
I have one. It's
Well, see,
I
there
all
you
right.
go.
I had one. No, I think it's still in that. I'm looking in the closet like I could see it. I have one, but it was my like cheap suit I got right out of college, and it wasn't even wool. It was super hot because it was like polyester. It is not a leisure suit. It looked like a normal suit. And then I have a chocolate colored suit with pinstripes. It's like totally mobster, which is like half wool, half silk, all awesome. So I used to wear that one.
So,
I
so,
haven't worn it
so,
in years.
what is the proper watch to wear with mobster gear? I mean, if
Gold,
you're going full on
yellow gold,
mafioso,
yellow gold, yellow gold day date Rolex. That's the right watch to go mob. Yeah, absolutely.
that's the
Because
answer.
and Design Atelier has noted that there's a wait list already on it, and I had heard that for the Pelagos 39 is what he's talking about. Yeah, no, it's like
We already knew there were wait lists on the Rolexes.
Right,
So.
right. No, no, there is one for that. But you see, that's the thing. You can't go like gold Vacheron or gold Patek or anything. That's too classy. Rolex has, because it's Rolex, it's got to be. And yes, I'm totally poaching. I never saw The Sopranos, but I'm totally poaching it from Tony Soprano. Rolex has to be. What is the word that Kevin is his name, O'Leary, the Shark Tank guy who's sometimes on with Teddy Bob. Kevin is a watch guy. So sometimes he does collab videos. They're actually pretty good with Teddy Baldassar, who's a big watch YouTuber guy and a dealer. But he refers to it like he has watches that he needs he lives in Miami, and he needs what he calls flashy and trashy. And so like gold on gold with a gold dial day date Rolex. Yes, please. But that's what that's your Miami watch, and that's your mobster watch. So that's how it is.
That's just how you roll.
That's it. And I think that'll be it for this stream. I've gone on way longer than I thought I would, but thank you so much for coming on, Tony. It's a lot of fun to interact with someone, an expert like you in the Beluva hack realm. And
there are things I'm experts in, and watches is not it. I just have.
You are you've got as much expertise as I do, or as anyone else. You know brands. You have multiple watches. You know what you like. That's all it takes to be a non-influencer who just talks on YouTube. That's what we do. And Obese Tuna thanks us.
I have a voice for influence.
He thanks me, and he thanks you also, but just also. Thanks, Dennis, and Tony too. That's how I read it. It's because you haven't fully committed to Godzilla.
I'm not there yet. I haven't played it.
I played that just before coming on stream. I still can't get a billion. I keep dying.
You just keep falling a little short of it.
Mecha Godzilla betrays me every time.
Every time. When now when he betrays you, do you scream at the machine properly?
I actually do. It depends what you mean. Like I'm losing so much, I'm restarting on ball one and I'm swearing profanity. Or like when the ball drains, but I'm still going to keep going, I roar with Godzilla when he gives me my bonus. Unless I was fighting Tyrannosaurus, and then I do the Tyrannosaurus sound instead. I'm very obnoxious when I play. See, with watches, I'm not obnoxious. I don't go like get mad at my Spiro Agnew and go tick tock. I don't do that. Pinball brings out the bad side of me. But anyway, that'll be it for this stream.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Yes, well, and I am planning a new tot, not just our little one-off tot that we did for Scott today, but I am working on an actual episode, which I will invite you and some others to see if anyone else wants to participate in this or that. And people watching, if you guys have a webcam and a headset, you can come on.
$20,000+ watches for David Dennis's wife to pick out from.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yes. He wanted to be on tonight actually, but unfortunately he had to go to a funeral, so he was not able to. But yes, his wife, her taste, she would love that soprano Rolex, I'm telling you. But yeah, and people watching, if you want this all just works through the browser. So if you guys have a webcam and a mic and headset and you want to come on, it's just for fun. You're more than welcome. Just don't go all, we gotta be non-profane. We're trying to be nice. And I work in public health, so no smoking on the stream. Those are my rules. You can drink, but no smoking. Those are my rules. I'd never live it down if it came out and be like, Dennis is doing streams with people puffing on cigars. You gotta save that till after.
Oh, so basically what you're saying is now I need to start a cigar channel so I can.
There's so much overlap. What do you think? Before I end this, what do you think the biggest overlap is with watch? I don't know if this is true, but this is what I get the impression of when I see photographs. What do you think the biggest collecting overlap is with watches?
It's either going to be cigars or whiskey.
You may be right, but I'm going to say no. Knives.
I mean,
there is
who doesn't like knives?
I have like 8 of them, but I never thought of myself as a collector. They're like people who are spending like knife money on knives. What does that mean?
Oh yeah, no.
They're spending knife money on knives. That is the most meaningless drivel that I could possibly say. They're spending like watch money on, not like Patek watch money, but like Oris watch money on knives. I like a good knife, but
who doesn't like a good knife? I mean, you just need one every once in a while.
I just don't know. Scott agrees with you though, Tony. He thought whiskey was right, and there is a whole one of the channels used to do like a watches and whiskey talk. It was one of the gray market people. I don't remember. I don't know if it's still going on or not. I don't. Those usually go a little. I was gonna say those go a little long for me, and here I am, an hour 50 in. I've become everything I hate.
I will say, I'm bouncing into the chats that you've not popped up yet. There you go. I went to a work function when I was at a convention. On campus with a baseball hat backwards. Let's see. I could probably swing that real quick.
I asked Tony when he told me that he was doing, because he's doing some college classes, if I didn't realize they were virtual.
Hey,
I just guessed. And I thought, I asked if you were going around campus and doing the Steve Buscemi Saturday Night Live thing. Hey there, fellow kids.
I'm not. It's actually an all online course. So I don't have to go to the campus at all. But Fallen Upon Volunteers, yeah, I'm not a cigar person.
He gags on
I am
cigars.
A whiskey person. I went to a function when I was at a convention for work, and we were in Chicago, and they a boat trip up and down so you could look at the Chicago skyline as the sun was setting, and it was amazing. But they had like a whiskey tasting, and they had a lady there hand rolling cigars for people. And I will say the whiskey tasting was amazing. I did not partake of the cigars, but the whiskey tasting was amazing.
Yeah,
I highly recommend.
I've never done a whiskey tasting.
Do a good whiskey tasting. It's worth it. If you like, that's where I found my new favorite whiskey. Was because of that whiskey tasting. So,
I've never done one. I can't say if I like whiskey or not. I haven't tried enough. I really not since college can I think that I've had, and those were so cheap that they probably were not very good. Because I don't drink much. When I do, I normally prefer ciders. I'm a big fan of ciders, which would work a lot better if I was in the UK, where cider is a very common drink. But here in the US, there's only usually it's only bottled, and which is fine, but there's not a lot of variety unless you go to the liquor store. And I've grabbed a few which get a little exotic, like let's add pear, let's add vanilla bean and stuff. And I've tried those sort of things. Like I like it very apple and very dry. Like the problem is those sometimes lean a little too sweet. No, I want it dry. I don't want my teeth to hurt after I drink it. But I prefer that to
next
beer.
time we go to Texas, I should bring the one of my bottles of the good stuff with us.
Yeah, we for those that are wondering, we
TPF is about the only time either of us ever drink anymore. It feels like.
Yeah. Well, because someone always has to drive, so we're responsible.
Yeah,
we're not. We can't. Your backwards hat might be fooling people that you're still the irresponsible college kid, but
I'm 18. Yay!
Dennis loves the scrumpy. I don't know what that word means. That word means nothing to me. Grumpy is a type of cider originating in the west of England. Okay, I had to search it because I'm like, he loves the scrumpy, and I thought, I don't know what that means. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Wow, I now kind of want to try it because around here, okay. Traditionally, the dialect term scrumpy was used to refer to what was otherwise called rough, a harsh cider made from unselected apples. So basically, I want trash tier cider, which is probably true. Today, the term is used more often to distinguish locally made ciders produced in smaller quantities using traditional methods rather than mass-produced ciders like Angry Orchard. Yeah, I was, I'm so disappointed. When I was in England, I went in 2008. I didn't try any cider. I had beer there, but I did not try any ciders, and I really regret that. But because I went for a week when my dad was still working, and he was helping with the power plant design out there, and so I went. And we went out to eat one place, and I had a beer there, and it was like an Italian restaurant. So then it was also my first time to try limoncello. It gets you pissed as a newt, which is probably British for either very, very pissed or very not pissed. Because I don't know these words. I don't know. We don't understand your special speaking. A newt. What's a newt? A newt is a salamander. Okay, well, that didn't help. Well, what can I say?
I will say, it was at a TPF while we were talking about booze on your watch channel. At TPF is when I had Bundaberg rum, and that was probably the drunkest I've been since I was actually the correct age to be in college. Was with that. My teeth felt fuzzy. My teeth went numb drinking that stuff.
Was that what I tried where you helped me back to the hotel?
Yes. Okay. Yes, that was the same night. We were both pretty snookered.
I didn't think I drank a lot, but it had been a while since we ate, and he was giving us some pretty hard
stuff. And it hit hard. I had
it did. I knew I was laughing a lot, which is always a sign, because to me, as I drink, everything becomes funny beyond normal. Like, I just don't care about anything. It's just, everything's just flippant. I don't know. People don't seem to be upset when I have had anything to drink. They're like, you're so nice and funny when you drink.
No, everybody wants you to drink. They think you're hilarious.
I'm funny when I don't drink. I'm like, yeah, but you think everyone else is funny when you drink, which then makes them feel good about themselves, I guess. But anyway, that'll be it. Let's end it. It's been 2 hours since I've been on.
2 hours.
It's been 84 years. So thanks, Tony. I'll probably do another one of these probably next week. I don't know yet what I'll do, or if I'll have others on. And people, you can always email the channel, watcheswithdinus@gmail.com. Scott Goldberg, who's been in the chat, who joined as a member. And I thank you very much for that, Scott. He emails quite a bit. I'm pretty responsive to emails. I usually get to them within 48 hours. But if anyone wants to participate on these, you don't have to do anything special. If you got a webcam, and it works best with a headset for no echo bleed. But if you've got a webcam and a mic headset, I'm more than happy to have people on, and we can chat about watches and then burn 15 minutes talking about weird, hard, fuzzy teeth liquors. So good times. But anyway, that'll be it.
We had to hit that 2-hour mark. We got 10 more seconds to go.
Yep.
we gotta hit it. There's a special, there's a special thing.
That's right. I'll get another pre-recorded ad tier. I probably get another ad break there. So there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
And Von Curl says everybody likes a happy, non-violent, drunk person. I suppose that's the case.
Very true. See, my problem is I'm already a happy person. It just makes me happier, but it also makes me very truthful, and that's not always good.
Tony's just he's a truth seeker. He just seeks truth.
I am bitterly honest when I am drunk, so it can get me in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Which is good. You've never said anything really mean to me while you were drunk, so I feel
normally when I've been drunk, you were already drunk.
That's true. So I wouldn't remember if you had said anything. That said, Tony's known me for so many years. He would just tell me anything I do that he doesn't like. He's like, Dennis, don't do that anymore. So that'll be it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the watches with the Geneva Watch Week. I forget what they called it. And
it's been too long since the episode started.
And hopefully any of you will watch. Yeah, if you guys are watching the recording, hopefully you turned this off 15 minutes ago and quit caring about this. But it is what it is. So it's whatever's recorded is recorded. But take care, everybody, until the next.